In the frozen wilderness of Russia's Ural Mountains, 9 hikers set out on an expedition in February 1959. None of them would return alive. Their bodies were discovered weeks later, scattered across the snow, with injuries so bizarre that investigators were left stunned. Some were half-dressed, some had fractured skulls and ribs without external wounds, and others showed traces of radiation. To this day, no one truly knows what happened. This is the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. He and his team were skilled mountaineers, prepared for harsh conditions. Their goal was to reach Otorten, a peak deep in the Urals. But on February 1st, a snowstorm forced them off course, and they set up camp on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, a mountain the local Mansi people ominously called the Mountain of the Dead. It was the last time anyone saw them alive. Weeks later, rescue teams discovered their abandoned tent. The scene was chilling. The tent had been slashed open from the inside. Belongings were left behind, and footprints led into the woods. The hikers had fled into the snow in little more than socks and thin clothing, in sub-zero temperatures. Their bodies were eventually found scattered over a mile. Some had clearly died from hypothermia, but others showed injuries that were far more difficult to explain. 2 hikers had fractured ribs and skulls, but with no external trauma, as if crushed by an immense invisible force. One woman was missing her tongue and parts of her eyes. Several showed signs of radiation exposure. Investigators were baffled. How could experienced mountaineers flee their tent half-dressed? And what force could cause such internal damage without leaving marks on the outside? Over the years, countless theories have emerged. Some believe it was an avalanche that forced them out into the snow. But the slope was not steep enough, and no signs of an avalanche were ever found. Others suggest the hikers stumbled into secret Soviet military tests. The radiation, the blunt injuries, and the secrecy surrounding the case have fueled this idea for decades. Another theory points to the paranormal. Villagers in nearby towns reported strange glowing lights in the sky that night, leading some to believe the hikers encountered something extraterrestrial and paid the price. There is also the infrasound theory, a scientific explanation based on the mountain's wind patterns. Infrasound, extremely low-frequency sound waves, can cause panic, nausea, and irrational behavior in humans. Could this have driven the hikers into a frenzy, forcing them to abandon their tent and run into the snow? Some investigators even considered whether the local Mansi people attacked them, but there was no sign of struggle, nor footprints belonging to anyone outside the group. The official investigation eventually closed with the vague conclusion that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force. But that explanation only raised more questions than it answered. Were they victims of an avalanche, a Soviet cover-up, a freak psychological event, or something far stranger, something we still cannot explain? The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. The truth may forever lie buried beneath the snow of the Ural Mountains.